Alrighty, very happy Tuesday here on the throw-in, February the 14th. Just kind of settling back in. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in to the throw-in here with Justin. That's me, myself, and I, right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. We've been absent for the last couple of weeks, and it's kind of a strange occurrance. Man, I gotta tell you, I gotta apologize. All right. We knew that I was having some problems prior to my absence. So it was coughing, it was into the previous week, getting into Monday, and then I just went south 2 Mondays ago, a matter of fact. Had had a really bad cough, started getting the chills, the cold sweats, and I was just really feeling under the weather. Now I was just taking it day by day, and I was like, man, I just, with the coughing and everything, I'm just not going to be able to put on a program with you guys. And so, I went about it, took it day by day, and comes to find out that my, the household kind of went through the same coldness. Some got COVID, some didn't. And, just the last 2 weeks have really been a whirlwind when it comes down to being able to put on the product, because my biggest thing was my cough, which I still have just, I still have a little bit going on for me, but some of it was the cough. And, I don't want to have the, 2-hour program just coughing my lungs away for each and every one of you. So, it was very, detrimental for me. I was very bummed because I missed out on a lot leading up to the Super Bowl. Missed a lot of conversations. Missed the big controversy, not controversy, but the big segment between Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman. The Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn has a moment. I missed the SmackDown Tag Team titles being defended last week. So there was a good amount of stuff in a 2-week span. And whenever, you get it, it's one day if you miss a day and then you're able to come back and make up. But it's another thing to be able, to have to miss a whole week, if not 2 weeks. You really just kind of feel, honestly, out of place. And, that's kind of where I'm at this morning, you guys. So we are back. According to the schedule wise, there's no guarantee about the 6 to 8. Depends. I'm working on that. I want to get back to the 6 and 8, but I got 10 to 12 in the morning for you guys here because other things occurred. And I was just, I was watching Raw last night, and I was, I went to bed right after Raw, and just, I'm still dealing with my injury, so that kind of kept me up all night last night. Excuse me. So, all right, we are back. I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2023. And yeah, I don't normally celebrate Valentine's Day as much as the next person. I don't necessarily think of it as anything more than just a company, making money. That's kind of what you do. So I don't necessarily celebrate Valentine's Day, you guys, but a couple of weeks ago, my fiance is kind of big about Valentine's Day, and so a couple of weeks ago, she was nagging about me about it since the beginning of the year. So I kind of put something together a couple of weeks ago, gave it to her, asked her to be my Valentine's. Hopefully, um, get a chance to spend some time with her after today, well, after this program. Take her out hopefully to a nice dinner and all. But other than that, I mean, other than buying dinner, I did. I don't normally invest or buy into the whole stuffed animals. You get the stuffed animals whenever you want to. Um, the chocolates, I'm not really a big fan of either. You have the plastic flowers and whatnot. So what I did was a couple weeks ago, I decided that I was gonna go ahead because she was keep on pushing me. So I asked her, went and asked her in a kind of special way. So she was at work. I went over to Walmart, got these plastic fake rose petals. We got about 200 of them, spread them over the bed, and then got like a little bucket together. She was wanting got her some clothing items, and then she wanted this. She was needing a new wallet, and I was trying to pull off, which I completely suck at pulling off surprises and whatnot. But I was trying to pull off, saying I couldn't get the wallet that she wanted, and ended up putting into this little basket and everything. It looked very. I mean, I thought, listen, for the amount of effort that I put into it, I really enjoyed it, and so that was kind of my way of asking her to be my quote unquote Valentine's, and then so I did that. Everything, with everything else that was going on a couple weeks ago, she said yes, obviously, obviously, and it was just that's kind of like leads it up to today. I'm not gonna do anything too spectacular. Just go out to enjoy a nice meal and try to make the most of it. And so wherever you guys are out there trying to take care of Valentine's Day, or you still looking for your Valentine's, we wish the very best of luck, the very best of safety, and all. But this is today. I was ready for today to come because there's a lot that is like not transpiring, but we are shifting from football because the Super Bowl ended on Sunday and football is officially over, and now we're looking eyes to baseball. World Classic, the players that are in the World Classic will be reporting to um, training camp. They reported yesterday, and then now coming up tomorrow, our Cincinnati Reds pitchers and catchers are reporting tomorrow, February 15th, and then in just 5 days. So they are supposed to report tomorrow. They start actually practicing, I believe, on the 16th. I think I have that down here, share with you guys. There we go. All right, so no, there we go. The dates. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, pitchers and catchers will report tomorrow or today. Pitchers and catchers will report to camp today on February 14th. They will hold their first workout tomorrow, February 15th. The full squad workout, the position players are scheduled to report to February 19th, and the first squad workout is February 20th, which is February 20th is also Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Next Monday is the first workout. And then if you think about it, coming from after that, you got yourself opening day. Not opening day, but spring training, which, I know to a lot of players, to a lot of fans, it's nothing, particular. But, let's look. When you look at it, you got the Castellinis who have really just downgraded their own franchise so much so that you need a little bit of positivity going into this season. We know that there's, we know the direction that the Reds are taking. We know that this is not the best ball club on that's being put together on the field. But if anyone can show, just like last season, that I preached about from day one, that whole incident with Bob Castellini and Phil Castellini on the home opener, how they're saying whether or not you're a fan of the Reds or not, if you're in the area, you're going to go root for the Reds. You're going to buy our tickets. You're going to go to our games. Now, last year, I didn't go to a single game, and I completely hated myself for it, okay? So I don't know what, I got some games that I would like to go to this season. I got 6 games picked out that I would like to go to. So, overall, the only people that can change the minds of the Castellinis or prove the Castellinis wrong are the Cincinnati Reds, and that begins at spring training. And we'll dive into the team and and who we expect to play. You got to be patient. There's a lot of younger talent. The Reds organization says, "Hey, we're going to win off of young talent," so that's what we're going to do. And it starts on February 25th when the Reds take the field to face the Guardians. Think about it, that's about a week and a half before the spring training season starts. And then you got just about a little over a month before the regular season begins. And I'm excited. I'm excited for baseball to return. I think I'm more excited about a normal season. And, listen, when come next Saturday, when baseball is finally being played and I could tune into baseball and I could start watching baseball, I generally want all of that ownership, front office drama, BS to stay where it's at. I don't want it to linger over onto the field because it has no purpose to being on the field. I want the Castellinis to go hide up in their offices and not saying a single word. Okay, let the management, let the coaches do all the work, and let the fans have fun. Let the fans come out to these games and root for the teams, not for the ownership. Root for the teams. And it's kind of sad because the direction that the Reds are in. That they're not fighting for contingency, and that they're going to fight for contingency is going to be based off of the young squad that they have on the field now. We're talking about Jake Fraley, Stuart Fairchild, Jonathan India, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. You got really no one spectacular out there other than, you got Will Myers, who, had trouble with the Padres through his tenure with San Diego. You got Tyler Stevenson, who you hope that stays healthy throughout the year. And then you also have Joey Votto, who is rounding up the end of this, season. Those are the only top three guys that I'm like, all right, I'm going to go pay for to watch. Otherwise, you don't know how, I'm kind of getting behind Jonathan India. I really like him. Maybe he's my fourth guy, but that's pretty much it. I'm not going out there to see Jose Barrero. I want him healthy. I'm not going out there to see Hunter Green, although if you're a young guy prospect-wise, I love watching his outings, but I'm not going out there to see that. I was just reading some reports about TJ Antone not going to be ready for at least half the season, and that's a big bummer. So realistically, we know what the Reds are not on the field, but it's good to finally, and we definitely know what's being said off the field by the ownership, by the people who are signing their paychecks. But you know what, though? It's an exciting season. It's baseball season. And Cincinnati, is known to baseball season. I know it's turned into football with how well the Bengals have been playing, but it's still a baseball city. And, people I love baseball. All right. A lot of people enjoy baseball around here. Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to, but we will. But we do. All right. So we'll talk some more about the Cincinnati Reds today. Lots going on today, man. Listen, just because Super Bowl 57 is over with doesn't mean, football conversations talk. We have to know what is going to happen to the Cincinnati Reds or Cincinnati Bengals, excuse me. We want to know things such as, all right, let's talk about what are their off-season plans, where can they improve at. They've already made some adjustments, and we'll talk some Bengals football, get you a look around the local world of sports. Nothing really big going on. A lot of that stuff's happening tomorrow, but I'll update you around locally. And then we'll talk about some WWE. We are just a few days away from Elimination Chamber. We continue our road to WrestleMania, which is in the first weekend of April 1st and April 2nd. We have, right now, if you think of it, and I was just pondering this over last night, trying to put this together, we only got three confirmed matches set for WrestleMania so far. All right, you got Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. You got the winner of Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn this Saturday that will be facing Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And then you also have the winner of the Women's Elimination Chamber this Saturday, who will be facing Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. So 3 matches so far. And, we are on the road to WrestleMania. And there are matches right now that are on the horizon of being, solidified, confirmed for WrestleMania. But man, I tell you, there are matches that have yet to be announced, and I'm getting a little worried. One of the matches we'll talk a little bit more is about the match coming up this Saturday between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. This is going to be the 3rd time they meet. And I wonder, I was like, isn't this supposed to be a WrestleMania match? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to kick things off heavily, hour number 1 on WWE and Monday Night Raw. A couple good stories. Things just continue getting personal between everyone. So we'll do that. In hour number 2, we'll concentrate on football and baseball as we come back from a 2-week illness. So we want to thank everyone, welcome everyone back, and you sit tight and let's have ourselves a great show. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw-In with Justin. That's myself. We'll take a quick time out. You guys are listening to the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, 10:21 here on the Throw-In, taking you guys up until noon, 2 hours here on the program. I want to give ourselves a big shout out to StreamYard Studios that makes all of this possible. StreamYard Studios is the proud home of the Throw-In, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. In general, StreamYard Studios is where you can create your podcast, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. Alrighty, just kind of getting back into the swing and the mix of things here on the program. Welcome back, everyone. Like I said, man, 2 weeks being out because of a big sickness that I just kind of got over, and I still kind of feel it's like it's there. It's not like I feel like it's there. It's just I feel like it's like the cough and the the throat is still there. But everything else feels well. And man, I tell you, when it took me out, it took me out. I couldn't really quite help it, and everything. But listen, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, we want to thank you guys. I forgot to do all of my thanking early on here in the opening segment. So if you guys are watching us on YouTube, thank you guys. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. Press on those notifications. Don't miss a single episode. And if you guys want to, if you guys are listening, watching us live on Facebook and on Twitter, want to thank you guys. Welcome in. Want to encourage you to jump over to YouTube and leave a comment, in the comment section so I could read them and share with you guys. Get involved into the conversations that we have. If not, you guys go find us on all audio streaming platforms. So if you guys are at work, taking us on the road, driving, these episodes normally quickly get up and edited and uploaded within an hour of the actual program. So be sure to download us, the Throw-In, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your audio podcasting at. So that's all that said and done. But man, I was kind of, wondering yesterday, is like, what am I going to talk about today? What are we going to talk about? And I was just thinking to myself, like, do we want to jump back to the Super Bowl and start our way forward? And there's not really much more I could say about the Super Bowl that maybe everyone else hasn't talked about already. So I'm going to save that for a little longer because right now is we are on the road to the Elimination Chamber. Right now in the WWE, we just had Monday Night Raw last night, which was a big entity. Um, and I think one way that I really understood Raw last night was that things continue to get really personal um, on the show. Whether that was Becky Lynch and Bayley, who found themselves in a triple threat match with Bianca Belair last night, and that stipulation was if Bayley or Becky won, they would have been a additional member into the Elimination Chamber. Well, if Bianca Belair won, neither of them will be an additional. Well, neither of them will be in the Elimination Chamber. And I just thought to myself, and I was just thinking there for a moment, I'm like, to be honest, because the winner of the Elimination Chamber, right, the women's Elimination Chamber will be facing, will be facing Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. You think about this. You got, now I know this is an unedited. You got Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Natalia, Asuka, all right, and then you got Nikki Cross and Carmella. Those are your 6 people that are going to be in the Elimination Chamber. And when you start looking at, all right, possibilities of who could be facing Bianca Belair, I was a little surprised to see Rhea Ripley go the route of, hey, I want Charlotte Flair at Mania, and I feel like, and although she's gonna be involved in a mixed match, coming up on Saturday, I kind of feel like, all right, well, there's really no storyline being told between Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, and that's a whole nother conversation. But we get down to Bianca Belair, and the winner of this Elimination Chamber match will be facing Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship come WrestleMania. And you kind of look at maybe favorites. Now, I like Liv Morgan, but I think her time was last year, and I think that time is up. I like Nikki Cross, but I don't think that she is capable of defeating 5 other women inside the Elimination Chamber. And it's not like I don't think that she can win. I think she can win. She could defeat every woman in this cage, and I think that goes to all other women. Natalia, Raquel, Liv, Asuka, Carmella. Every woman could win. But I really prone to, if I had a top 3 favorites to win, it would be Natalia, Asuka, and Carmella. And I really think, to be honest, they may push Asuka once again to come back and to face Bianca Belair for that Raw Women's Championship. I know it's kind of early talking about that, but it's worth mentioning. It's worth talking about it because I thought Rhea Ripley was going to come challenge Bianca Belair. I really like the diversity, though, of these 6 women that is going to be in the Elimination Chamber. Nikki Cross, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez. But what got me thinking really much about WrestleMania last night was that WWE's promoting Ronda Rousey returning next week to team up with Shayna Baszler to take on, I think, Tony Storm, Shotzi, and someone else. I'll have to get that name to you as soon as I can. And I'm like, we are a week before Elimination Chamber. We have Charlotte facing Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. So the SmackDown title is already occupied. We have the winner of the Women's Elimination Chamber facing Bianca Belair. But then you got Ronda Rousey, and she doesn't necessarily have a match. Then you also think about it last night in 2 opponents that were facing Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Bayley. I mean, they are in a storyline themselves, credited, but they don't necessarily have a WrestleMania path. And it got me thinking, and I'm like, I know that there are rumors out there speculating of what matches are going to happen, but we really don't know until the time comes what's going to happen at WrestleMania, because between now and then, injuries could acquire. WWE's always changing things as much, night and day. And so I get worried a little bit. I get worried. You take a look at the men's elimination chamber, all right, and you talk about diversity, a huge diversity of group of men. Austin Theory, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, Montez Ford, one half of the Street Profits, Johnny Gargano, and Bronson Reed, who are, you know, right then and there. There's the three guys here: Bronson Reed, Johnny Gargano, and Montez Ford. And I'm like, where the hell have they came from? So when it comes down to, like, this is a very diverse, and it kind of just allows you to almost narrow your pick of who could potentially win. I mean, although Damian Priest, I think, it could be a fan favorite, I don't think he's going to get that overhaul of winning. Judgment Day hasn't been real lucky at overcoming titles and titles and titles. They don't carry any titles along them, and that may be changing, and I hope that it does, and it would be a unique twist to the WWE storyline, but you don't necessarily see that often. Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Seth Rollins doesn't yet to have a match, and we'll get into Seth Rollins a little bit more, but I don't quite feel that Seth Rollins will capture the United States Championship. And then if so, it would be interesting, because right now, I personally think and believe that Seth Rollins will be facing Logan Paul at WrestleMania. And wouldn't it be something special to see Logan Paul, Seth Rollins for that United States Championship? So, you got Becky Lynch and Bailey, things getting personal over there. Seth Rollins finally speaking out on Logan Paul. We'll talk about them. You got the mixed match challenge this Saturday. Rhea Ripley returns to help the Judgment Day after Edge and Beth Phoenix come and save the Street Profits. And then let's not forget Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Man, I tell you, this match is beneficial. It's going to be for the Elimination Chamber. And it really got me scratching my head a lot. And I was just wondering, I'm like, what on earth are they putting these two men at Elimination Chamber? They're both tied. I believe Brock Lesnar has the upper advantage. I believe Brock Lesnar is 2-0. And I'm like, okay, I'm just wondering, for me, this is a WrestleMania match. And why you having an Elimination Chamber? I mean, you kind of figure maybe something will be more, maybe a stipulation next time around, if there's a next time around. I guess that's the question that we're all wondering. I guess for me, when it comes down to these two men, I love watching these two men, Bobby and Brock Lesnar, compete, especially, this whole new image that Brock Lesnar has been able to perceive. But I guess for me, my thing is that I just don't quite, I guess I want to see this match at WrestleMania, guys. I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts. Would you prefer Bobby and Brock Lesnar now this Saturday, or at WrestleMania in about 6 weeks? That's my question. Because, I feel like this is a spotlight match. Now, I'm assuming, and this is just the assumption, that they will have another match at WrestleMania, maybe put some sort of stake on the line here for WrestleMania. I don't know. But you also got to wonder, because MVP is still trying to get Bobby Lashley a part of the Hurt Business again. And you kind of saw Bobby Lashley, MVP, talking in the background on one of the segments. I found interesting on Raw last night, the Miz segment, right? The whole So Miz TV was on last night. He had Seth Rollins, and I'll talk about Seth Rollins' issue here after our break. But the Miz got curb stomped, and they went to commercial break, and Rick Brugge was coming out, and you actually got picture in picture, and you actually got to see the crew, unravel the kind of give you a little bit behind the scenes by taking off the carpet, and they actually show that on television. I was just kind of a little surprised with that. I thought that was kind of a neat, cute touch. Who'd ever thought that Rick Boog and Elias, just popping up in my head, just thinking out loud. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking out loud, but Rick Boog and Elias tag team champions at some point. Thinking about that. I love it. All right, let's step aside. Let's take a break. Let's come on back. I want to ask a couple more questions here as we talk a little bit about Seth Rollins and his comments and his concerns about Logan Paul. I want to talk about the heartfelt, once again heartfelt segment with Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. And then I do also want to talk about one thing I really want to point out here that I think is also concerning to me is I'm a little disappointed in, I heard a lot about this last week, and I want to talk about Baron Corbin and his use in the WWE and how apparently, quote unquote, the WWE has given up on him. So, all right, don't go nowhere. Let's take a break. Let's come on back and continue talking about these stories. You guys are listening to The Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Now be saved by rock and roll. You can take my money, steal my car, and sell my clothes. You can take the shoes I'm in, go on and take everything. You can have about everything I own. Just leave that old piano. Maybe
10:40 here.
So I can sit down there and play when I'm home.
Here on the Throw-In here, taking you guys up until noon, hour number 1, wrapping up here in just a few minutes. As we come to you, we still talk about some WWE, some professional wrestling, road to WrestleMania, Elimination Chamber right around the corner. Talking a little bit about some of the things that happened on Monday Night Raw and how things got personal. Things got really personal, or starting to get personal, with Seth Rollins and Logan Paul as of late, where Seth Rollins has been talking to social media how he doesn't feel, how he feels that both Logan Paul and CM Punk, he's giving stabs at them. And I really like it because he's telling the truth. And I think every word that he says about CM Punk is completely true. I think that every moment, I think that CM Punk is a waste of time. I'm not going to decredit or devalue what CM Punk is capable of doing inside the ring. All right, he's great. He has great mic skills. He's also is a good in-ring competitor. But you know what? When you go leave the company for 6, 7, 10, 8 years, and you decide that you want to get back into the ring, and at one point in our lives, CM Punk went out there, said, "Hey, I could do what everyone else does. I don't like the company. I don't like how I'm being treated. I believe I'm 10 times better than, what I'm being shown as." And he chose to leave. He says, "Hey, listen, I'm going to take my business and I'm going to go invest it into something else. And when that failed, because that failed miserably, he comes back to the WWE. Well, remember, he comes back to the WWE. He thinks that he comes back as some sort of spokesperson for a few years, saying that I'm not going to get back into the ring because I'm still too good for it. That I'm better at it. And he decides that he's going to just be a spokesperson. He's not a wrestler anymore. He's a spokesperson. And when that happens, you guys, he leaves WWE, he goes to AEW, he gets back in the ring. Everyone, the roof blows off the place, I tell you. And you know what? Okay, that's given. But he didn't do a damn thing since he returned. He was handed everything to him. He didn't work hard. He didn't earn it. And that's what upsets me. I am not a CM Punk fan. I once was a CM Punk fan. Let's make that clear. I am not a CM Punk fan. I think that, listen, he's injured. I hope he gets a speedy recovery. If he makes a return, I don't feel like he should be returning. But you know what? If he does, I think he needs to work on giving back to the fans. He needs to work on giving back to the generation that is excelling beyond him. Let me tell you what. CM Punk is not at the level that these younger guys are. And I'm sorry, you're not a Sting and you're not a Billy Gunn where you can keep up with these younger guys. You just can't. You've proven it that you've been injured time and time again, and that's okay. I think the way that Punk has came out over the last year and a half has rubbed my fan base for him in the wrong direction. And I'm sorry, but I am not a fan of CM Punk. I feel like he's wasted a lot of AEW's time. I feel like he's one of the reasons why AEW television has gotten down over time. Okay? And I think Seth Rollins has validated his points, and he should stick with them, and he should keep CM Punk. CM Punk should stay away from the WWE. I think he's a toxic person when it comes down to being in the ring. I think that he needs to stay with AEW. They could work with them the best. And Seth Rollins makes valid points. All right. But then it comes to my attention that Seth Rollins wants to come say stuff about Logan Paul. And the big problem is that has Logan Paul earned his spot in the WWE? And let me tell you something. I didn't like Logan Paul at first, and I'm not necessarily a head over heels fan with Logan Paul. But he had an impressive match with teaming up with The Miz last year. He had an impressive match facing The Miz. He's also had an impressive match against Roman Reigns. And that is a pure athlete when he's capable of doing it, and he is. And, unfortunately, and listen, Seth Rollins goes off about Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins goes off about Logan Paul. And this is what Seth Rollins does. He pushes and he antagonizes these guys to bring the best work out of them. I mean, if it wasn't for Seth Rollins making things personal with Cody Rhodes, I don't think you see an incredible Hell in a Cell match that they had. I think Logan Paul, although I'm not a huge fan of him, I was taken by surprise last year when they decided to go with Logan Paul instead of Bad Bunny. And I thought maybe Bad Bunny would have been a better pursuit for, the success that Logan Paul's had. But you know what? Logan Paul goes into, he works hard. Okay, maybe he doesn't work as hard as CM Punk. Maybe he doesn't work as hard as Seth Rollins. Maybe he doesn't work as hard as Roman Reigns, but he works hard. Okay, when it comes down to getting into ring shape. He gets in the ring and he pulls off the moves. I mean, he just had this monumental move that, that people are going to be talking about years to come with Ricochet flying across the ring. Now, I get it. Now, a lot of it probably doesn't take an excessive amount of, success to, or work to get to that level. But then he goes one-on-one at Crown Jewel in a epic spot for that title. And although he felt he gave Roman Reigns a run for his money, and I think that's something that shouldn't go unheard of or unmentioned. Okay, Seth Rollins, I'm sorry, you're giving Logan Paul crap for doing the same thing that you've done. Here's my other thing. I think that Seth Rollins is a little bit scared for not winning this Saturday inside the Elimination Chamber. Therefore, therefore, I believe Seth Rollins is trying to provoke a guy like Logan Paul in his back pocket, just in case he has no one to come to face for WrestleMania. Last year, Seth Rollins waited up until WrestleMania. He did a John Cena, right? Where John Cena had to wait until WrestleMania trying to provoke The Undertaker. Well, Seth Rollins was didn't have a match last year up until the week of WrestleMania, and he didn't know his opponent. So he's trying to turn the tables around now. We're sitting here February 14th, 2023. Seth Rollins doesn't have a guaranteed ticket for WrestleMania. Seth Rollins doesn't have a guaranteed ticket to main event. And this was something that was interesting that was pointed out last night by Seth Rollins on the Miz TV. All right, Seth Rollins mentions that he hasn't had his WrestleMania moment. He hasn't had the ability to main event WrestleMania. And I think that's on a certain level. I think it is, okay, that's an eye catcher, right? He doesn't have his moment at WrestleMania. But does The Miz give him his main event moment? No. Does Logan Paul give him his main? Because Seth Rollins is not main eventing. He's not closing out WrestleMania this year. At least not this year. So, there's a couple of options I think Seth Rollins could go down. With last night curb stopping The Miz, he could go one-on-one with The Miz. Okay? He could also be going one-on-one with Austin Theory, which I don't know how many people are looking forward to. I personally believe that Seth Rollins and Logan Paul is destined for WrestleMania. Now, whether that's for the United States Championship by Seth Rollins winning on this Saturday or not, that's up to him. But, Logan Paul has, I think, earned his spot and earned his role in the WWE. He's impressed a lot of people. I know he's impressed myself. And, he's one of the guys who I believe should be back at WrestleMania. Now, we talk about this time and time again about these part-timers, and I get it. But you know what? Logan Paul does sell seats at the same time. So there shouldn't be no doubt that Logan Paul should be in the mix or should be in the conversation for at least some sort of WrestleMania match. In this case, eyes turn towards Seth Rollins. This hour I kept on talking about and bringing up that, listen, things get personal. And last night things get personal even some more when it came down to Sami Zayn calling out Cody Rhodes, thinking that he needs that little self-perseverance, that little bit of confidence needs to hear from somebody else. Since the Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn has been taking these shots at the bloodline. He's finally getting what he wants. He says, listen, I've been treated like crap for the things that I've done for the family. Now he wants his payback and his revenge. But the number one problem that Sami Zayn has is that he does not have self-confidence in him, to the point where he had to show up last night on Monday Night Raw to call for Cody Rhodes to believe in what Cody Rhodes is telling the WWE universe. And that is, Cody Rhodes wants Sami Zayn. You know what? Cody Rhodes don't care who he has at WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes I bet you anything, he prefers Sami Zayn because of physicality, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, or Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. I think Cody Rhodes has a better advantage to face Sami Zayn and win. Of course, I would want Sami Zayn to win. But I think this is more about Sami Zayn. And this has nothing to do about the match Saturday. listen, Sami Zayn is, I think this is where, Sami Zayn had a purpose last year for 900 days. Let me put it that way. Or whatever. That was to get as close to the bloodline as possible to feel relevant. Okay, there's a part of me where if Sami Zayn didn't join the bloodline, where would Sami Zayn be at in his career now? He's on Monday Night Raw. He's being used thoroughly. And Sami Zayn has earned his wings to be paid attention to. And he's a definite fan favorite. But Sami Zayn, when you put him up against a guy like Roman Reigns, I'm sorry, I just don't see Sami Zayn winning. Sami Zayn doesn't see it in himself either. And Cody Rhodes had a kind of lit a fire under Sami's ass to say, all right, you're going to go into war on Saturday. But as long as you're convinced, not the WWE New Universe, you already got the WWE Universe behind you. You already got, you got fans behind you. You got Cody Rhodes in favor of him. But you have to do it for yourself. You have to be confident enough to do it. And Sami Zayn's caught in his own argument, saying, hey, listen, I'm going to be able to do this and do that. I could beat him, but I don't know because I've seen what they're capable of doing. And now, Paul Heyman's getting more and more involved. Who knows? Who knows? Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. And I think we ultimately know that this sets up for I think we're still speculating that this could potentially set up for a tag team match between the Usos and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We haven't seen Kevin Owens since the Royal Rumble. Paul Heyman mentioned something last weekend, how the Usos are needing to be at the Elimination Chamber for Roman Reigns. And I wonder if the Usos are going to turn, or at least Jimmy Uso is going to turn on Sami Zayn to spark this tag team match that we're speculating to see at WrestleMania. So that's we'll see how exactly that goes and how that shoots. But you know what? Listen, here's one thing that I want to kind of wrap back around to is that, we only have 3 matches, you guys, booked and confirmed so far for WrestleMania. We are sitting on February 14th, about 6 to maybe 7 weeks away from WrestleMania. I'd say 6. And we still have now, we have 3 titles being defended. We got the United States title, Intercontinental Championship, maybe the women's tag team titles. That's another 3. And then maybe you got the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles as well. So right now you're seeing about 8 titles yet to be defended for WrestleMania. Another 5 titles yet to be announced for WrestleMania. Total of 8 titles left. And we have 2 nights. Now we could sit here and we could talk about, all right, Edge and Finn Balor, Dominic and Ray, Bobby and Brock, maybe Bayley and Becky. I don't know what's with Ronda, who doesn't have a match yet. Seth Rollins doesn't necessarily have a match yet. So we could talk about all that stuff. But honestly, we still have 2, there are speculations of, Pat McAfee and Corey Graves. But in all honesty, we're not quite there yet. And I think things need to start going a little bit. I'm still confident in where the WWE's at, you guys. I am. Not worried about that. I'm just worried about, if things end up happening. We don't know if AJ Styles is going to be a part of WWE, whatever the case, part of WrestleMania, if he's healed in that time. I don't know. All right, hour number 1 is wrapped up and conclusive. I want to change course and head on over to the NFL as Super Bowl 57 wrapped up on Sunday. I'll give you my brief takes. On top of that, I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about the offseason and what the Bengals need to do. A lot more still to come. Hour number 2 here coming up next. Thank you guys for listening to the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, hour number 2 here on the Throw-In. And listen, I want to give a big shout out to Spreaker, who proudly opens up and displays our podcast on all social, all audio platforms. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble speaking this morning, getting back into it. I feel like I have a croaked voice, to be honest. But the Throw-In you can download now on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, the GeoSov, wherever you listen to your podcast, we're on there. Check us out today, the Throw-In on all audio platforms. All right, hour number 2 here. Happy Valentine's Day again to everyone who is celebrating Valentine's Day. I know I'm hopefully to take my fiance out to a lovely dinner later on this afternoon, in celebration of Valentine's Day, and it's kind of just a special, memorable day. Like I said, we've been sick the last 2 weeks. The household kind of went through a case of a cold, a cough, and a COVID in this, and we're doing much better now. And get excited to get back on the roll talking about sports. I kind of feel like I'm all over the place, maybe lost in myself a little bit today. So hopefully as the week progresses, we kind of clear things up and become, have a little bit better conversations and thought process and ideas. One thing that I'm, having trouble with, excuse me, is trying just to, get through, everything that I'm going through. All right, let's take a look around the world of sports, you guys. In Cincinnati's area, pitchers and catchers report today at Goodyear Ballpark in Arizona, as they get start. I believe they start tomorrow. Let me read back into that. So first workout for pitchers and catchers. They report to camp today, and then they'll hold their first workout on the 15th. Position players are scheduled to report February 19th, and then their first squad workout will be February 20th. They will be reporting to the Reds Player Development Complex, which is located at 3125 S Wood Boulevard in Goodyear, Arizona. It's about a mile from the Goodyear Park where the Cactus League games are being played. Fans can start attending workouts as well as games. There's going to be some new faces out there. We're looking into seeing guys like Will Myers, who's been playing first base and right field. Kevin Newman, who's an infielder. Nick Solak, a utility player, starting pitcher. Luke Weaver, and Kirk Casale and Luke Mal, veteran utility players. Chad Pinder is on the non-roster invitee. We're also looking if you guys are looking for a reason to go out to Goodyear, Arizona this spring and catch out, you're going to be looking at some top prospects as well. I know big one coming off last year was shortstop Ellie De La Cruz, who's ranked in the MLB pipeline as number 10 prospect overall and the number 1 Reds prospect. He's on the 40-man roster and will be at at his first big league camp. Number 29 overall prospect and shortstop Noel V. Marte, Reds number 2 prospect overall, will also be added to the big league roster. Other prospects we could look at is Brandon Williamson, Andrew Abbott, shortstop Matt McLean, and corner infielder Christian Encarnacion Strand. Looking to expect some big things coming up them. First games for the Reds coming up here in just about a week and a half, and the Reds open their spring training against the Guardians at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:05 Mountain Standard Time on February 25th at Goodyear Ballpark. Cincinnati's is at the home team. Both teams, I believe, share the complex, if I'm not mistaken. Other notable spring games you kind of want to look into. The Reds will play A's in Las Vegas on March 5th, 4th, and 5th, and they'll be back in Goodyear. They will host the Dodgers on March 12th, and then the Cubs on March 15th, and then the Padres on March 22nd. So you're kind of getting a looking around the spring games, a couple games that we want to look into. A couple other things going around for the Reds. They will be televised a handful of their games this spring, starting off with the Guardians. They will be aired on Bally Sports Ohio, and that will carry 7 Reds games. February 25th, the Guardians at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. February 27th versus the Rangers at 3 p.m. March 4th and March 5th against the A's at Las Vegas. Those times both start at 4 p.m. March 9th at the facing the Cubs at 3 p.m. Simulcast from Marquee Network. March 20th, the Angels, and March 22nd, the Padres at 9 p.m. Now, that'll be the only nighttime game will be televised. Now, I will tell you this, you guys. I have Hulu TV. I don't have Bally Sports. If anyone has Bally Sports, in the area, share with me. Send me the links. Send me the login information. I want to be able to watch some Reds game. That's one thing that's frustrating. Unless it's on ESPN or I don't get that. I don't get Bally Sports, so I can only listen to the Reds play, on the radio. The Reds' last game in Arizona is March 26th. It'll be a split squad against the Guardians in Goodyear and the Rockies in Scottsdale. Details for our opening day is March 30th versus the Pirates at Great American Ballpark. First pitch is scheduled for 4:10 p.m. Time. So that's everything I think you need to know right now for the Cincinnati Reds. Just know, hey, listen, we got pitchers and catchers report today. I think it feels pretty good. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty confident. Football's behind us. We start looking into Reds baseball and, what's going on over there. Like I said, talked about it in hour number 1. We don't have the greatest team on the field, right? Given we don't have the greatest lineup put together, given David, they're going to do the best they can with what they have, but we keep on having that block in the road by the Castellinis over and over and over again, you guys. And it's like, listen, pitchers and catchers report. You got, position players reporting next week. Today, Castellinis, your season is done with. Go hide up in your offices. Don't talk to anybody. Don't talk about the Reds baseball and how they're doing. Don't mention about where you're expected to be at this year. Just go hide. Okay? Go hide from today until October, before you make any other statements. Because, listen, as a baseball fan, as a fan that loves baseball, who lives in Cincinnati, I want to get behind the Cincinnati Reds, regardless if they're good or they're bad. And I don't, listen, every time the Castellinis come out and say something, as well as I know, they don't go out there and say anything positive. They didn't do that Rosie Reds, thing that they had a couple weeks ago. The whole caravan, I think, although it was significant for the players, you didn't see the Castellinis. The Castellinis, I will tell you, and this is out of all respect, they are not taking an ounce of ownership to what they're saying. There's no filter what they're saying. And they listen. Well, it's been known time and time again that they want to say something different, but you don't. But they comes out completely wrong, and it's frustrating as a fan to sit there knowing that, listen, these are our ownerships, and as long as they're our ownerships, they don't really care. At least they make it sound like they don't care an ounce about our fan base, about what the type of product you're putting on the field. Therefore, we're going to be losing. And when you have guys like Phil Castellini that has already proclaimed, hey, we are dead last, we're going to lose, we're not going to contend, it kind of just takes a gut wrench to you and takes your soul out of wanting to go out to these games. Like I mentioned, last year I didn't go to a single game. Now I have games on the marquee that I want to attend to. A lot of them are giveaway days, but that's it. And it was really sad because last year, when you did catch games, when you did catch, these highlights, and you see the crowd, there's no one in the stands, and it's kind of sad. So, Castellini's, please, 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 go hide and hibernate for the summer. So that's enough for the Reds. Over in Cincinnati, hey, listen, the Bengals, and we'll get more into the conversation but yesterday they made a little bit of a splash already, tackling in, picking up defensive back Chris Lamons from the waivers, formerly with the Kansas City Chiefs, played 16 games with them, 3 tackles, 4 assists, combined 7. Listen, over 42 games, played with the Dolphins in 19, with the Chiefs in 20, since 2020, 42 games, 14 tackles. He's going to be an additional, and we'll talk a little bit more about, exactly where, what they need, just what the Bengals really need. But they also did some moves. They've added to the reserve/future contracts. Yesterday, the Bengals yesterday signed 12 players to the reserve/future contracts. They will not count on the team's active list until February 13th, the Monday after the Super Bowl, which was yesterday. All 12 players finished the season on the team's practice squad. They are tight end Nick Bowers, quarterback Jake Browning, defensive end Owen Carney, offensive tackle Devin Cotran, safety Yusuf Corker, defensive tackle Dominique Davis, and I apologize for butchering names. Guard Nate Gilliam, tight end Tanner Hudson, defensive end Raymond Johnson the third. Keandre Jones is a linebacker, wide receiver Kwame Lassiter the second, and cornerback Marvell Tell the third, all being assigned to the roster for the Bengals this offseason. So, listen, this is, although the Bengals have kind of, they're starting, they went to the AFC Championship as the offseason, and, we get to start diving into where the Bengals need. So we'll talk a little bit more about that here in hour number 2. Over in other sports, Cincinnati Cyclones, they will be tipping off drop pucks tomorrow against Kalamazoo Wings. They won 6-5 back on Sunday against Atlanta Gladiators in Atlanta, and they're looking to face league action against tomorrow night against the Wings. The Cincinnati Cyclones are currently sitting in second place in the ECHL Central, 27, 12, and 5, just behind the Fields. Over there with basketball, Cincinnati Bearcats, 17-9 on the season, 8-5 in conference, 5 games left. They lost back on Saturday. They won back on Saturday against South Florida, 85-65. They'll be playing East Carolina at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night. Xavier Musketeers 19-6 on the year, 11-3 in overall in conference. 6 games left. They lost back on Friday against Butler, 69-67. And then they'll be facing tomorrow night against number 11 Marquette in a conference matchup here. Tip off at 7 p.m. It's going to be a big game. It's a big conference game going on. Kentucky Wildcats, the other one, 16-9 on the year, 7-5 in conference. Last game was on Saturday against Georgia, where they lost 75-68. They hope to turn things around tomorrow, taking on Mississippi State on the road. Tip-off is at 8:30. Hey, listen, just a handful more games of NBA is going on before the season ends. We get into March Madness. Teams not only just trying to look at the conference championships, but they're also looking towards trying to make it into the NCAA bracket tournament. So start warming up, getting NBA, NCAA basketball, kind of our big moments coming up here in just about a month or so. So that's your trip around the local news. We want to take a little quick break. We'll come back, and I want to give you the Reds' projected roster for opening day this season. So we'll get to that coming up here, taking you guys up until noon right here. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw One with Justin. That's me right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, we'd like to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. The Rat, Not the Tail by Harry and Vino. Given to you by Epidemic Sound. We'll give them a big shout out. Thank you guys for providing music for this program. All right, 11:21 here, taking you guys up until noon here. And I want to kind of dive in a little bit into the Cincinnati Reds, as we talked a little bit already. And a lot of things going on. And, big day as pitchers and catchers are set to report today. And then we have and then we're also going to be seeing position players report next week. But this is the fun time. All right, Mark Sheldon's been talking a lot about the Cincinnati Reds and where they're at and injuries and all that stuff that we need to look into. But I think it's a fun time to now start kind of looking into, just on February 9th. This was actually given back on February 9th. But Mark Sheldon has already given his first perspective look. His projection of opening day roster. Here's his first attempt. It's a 26-man roster. Let's remember about that. Starting things off at the catcher side of things, Mark projects that there will be 3 catchers: Tyler Stevenson, Kurt Casale, and Luke Mull. Now you got to remember that you got Austin Romine, who's going to be down in the minor leagues, but you got Tyler Stevenson kind of playing that more of a designated hitter role. He got injured last year, only playing 50 games in 22. I think the Reds will be extra careful by carrying an extra player. The only thing that I would like to see on this behalf is more so, all right, let's go ahead and have Stevenson kind of help Joey Votto at first, maybe. Maybe he could play more first base. And he'll be catching for selective pitchers. I remember, and I'm going to probably relate a lot of this to the Padres because I was really on top of the Padres before they moved or before we moved. Is that, you know, you had, you know, like Victor, you got his name. He was the ultimate catcher for you, Darvish. Anyways, so you kind of have your number one catcher who was set up to catch behind the plate every time you guys have a player like, I don't know. So let's say you have Nick Lodolo. All right, Tyler Stevenson will catch every day that Nick Lodolo pitches, just because that was the catcher correspondence. You know, maybe it was Hunter Green. So I would like to see Tyler Stevenson kind of take more of the role of, all right, is there one or two pitchers that you really want me to work with, build chemistry with, and help teach and pitch, you know, that I could catch behind the plate every single time. And then those other times you'd be probably either playing maybe a day at first, depending how Votto's feeling and how your outfield is, or you're playing the designated hitter spot. But I think right now the role is for Stevenson is the designated hitter spot with Kurt Casale and Luke Mile back there, also behind the plate. All right. We're also looking into first base will be Joey Votto. He's still working his way back from a major left shoulder root surgery. He's healing company. He's ready. You know, he may be questionable for opening day. This is where spring training really kind of kicks in. What's great about the first base position is that Tyler Stevenson is going to probably get a couple appearances during spring training at first base, which would help him out tremendously. And also Will Myers. What's going to help Votto out this year, and I think what helped the Reds out this year, is that just because Votto's not in the lineup, he could go back and forth between first base, the designated hitter, and the bench. And what's great is that you have two additional guys, at least that is well known at first base, Tyler Stevenson and Will Myers. You could possibly try to get another guy or two trained over there at first, just in case. But this is going to take a workload off of Joey Votto. Now, we know that Joey Votto is hurt and he's not 100%, and he's also winding down towards the end of his career. So to be able to get that help and securance for Votto, I think is very, very effective to bring the best game out, because you want him, ultimately as a fan, you want him to finish off his career with, at least for Cincinnati, as strong as possible. So that would be for me. Jonathan India kind of is, injury hampered. He's a sophomore coming back into it. Only played 103 games. I think this new rule against shift will definitely test his range. I think that would be a good testament for this young kid. But Jonathan India, probably one of the top prospects to see in this lineup coming up this year. Kevin Newman's going to be over there at the shortstop position. I think it's penciled in right now that Kevin Newman is that guy. Jose Barrera is a leading candidate for the job, but he also needs to improve and lead to his consistency with hitting. I think it's going to be more for Kevin Newman with his experience. I think Barrera's going to have his minor league option, and hopefully to see him come through later on this year. Another big guy coming into the infield this year that's going to get a big test is Spencer Steer. They DFA'd Mike Moustakas, injury prone. Listen, let's get the chip off our shoulder. Didn't work the way we wanted to. Non-roster invitee is Jason Volzer. He'll probably be in competition, but I know that the Reds, the Castellinis have built this team, or have given the foundations to build this team off of the young roster spot, and Spencer Steer is that young and upcoming roster spot. So I like Spencer still there. Overall, outfielders, we got 4 outfielders here. Overall, we're looking for Will Myers, Jake Fraley, Nick Senzel, and TJ Friedel. Now, we mentioned a couple things about, Stuart Fairchild, that could possibly, be contending for a spot. You know, um, excuse me. Rose Myers, is probably the biggest transaction that the Reds have had coming over from San Diego, an upcoming developing winning team. And I think what the Reds should be utilizing for Will Myers is that outfield ability and that first base ability, especially that first base. I know that the Reds are kind of stacked in the sense out there in the outfield. Um, and I think a lot of it needs to be playing time. You got Jake Fraley, Nick Senzel, TJ Friedel, Stuart Fairchild, all part of that, hey, let's get them experience. With that being said, Myers could come down, play a lot of first base, relieving Joey Votto a lot. The problem is that here's the good news. Will Myers has the experience off of a winning ball club, but Will Myers has also been inconsistent. And so when I think Will Myers, here's an old saying. You perform better when you are playing among better people. So when Will Myers was playing along with Eric Hosmer and Manny Machado and Juan Soto, these are better people. So he will be playing better. At least maybe the workload is not reluctant on him, so that when he can shoot up that 280 average, that 300 average that we need. You're changing his atmosphere to Cincinnati, who doesn't necessarily have those 4 or 5 guys. So he's going to be more required of, hey, let's keep these numbers up. That's where I'm kind of ultimately afraid of for Will Myers, and I don't want people to overanalyze it. He's not a bad player. He's not no great player. I do think that if he could get on the right track, if he could stay healthy, because injuries and father time is catching up to him, most could definitely. But with the key important is that combination, okay? The combination, you guys, with at first base, catcher, and outfield. You have enough catchers, you have enough outfields to work on Tyler Stevenson, to work on Will Myers, to work on Joey Votto. And the key important of this is that these guys need to stay healthy through and throughout the entire year. Now, listen, Myers could have a bad, could get off to a slow start. Stevenson could catch up and take a spot, but you're going to rely on these guys, at least 2 of these 3 guys at all times, being at the top of their game. Okay. And hopefully with the amount of rest that you could provide with these 3 players, as well as the utility that you could provide with them, you're hoping that you can get something, you could get 162 games of consistency. While Jake Fraley, Nick Senzel, Friedel, India, Steer is growing and progressing and becoming better athletes, I think we could see an overall team. Other things that we're looking at here is we also have the bench / utility players. Chad Pinder is probably in the conversation. Nick Solak as well. Probably rotating as a designated hitter spot. And you know what? Listen, I would like to see them rotating a little bit more, maybe in the outfield, maybe in the infield, especially over that third base. I think Steer's going to need a little bit of help over there. So position-wise, I think they're stacked. I think it's time for them to grow, and I think it's time for them to start, giving them the exposure that they so on needed. They need the exposure. That's just, without a doubt, that's just something that the Reds need. They got the young players. They're going to get the playing time, and they're going to make mistakes. I think that's another thing people need to address and realize that they're going to have mistakes. Starting pitchers, we have the top 5. This is all coming from Mark Sheldon here. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, Luis Cessa, Luke Weaver. One of the biggest problems last year was injuries, right? 2 of our top guys, Mike Minor and Luis Castillo, went down immediately with injuries. they didn't come back until midway through the season, where things were already uninspiring. You would like to see a healthy Luke Weaver, more of the veteran guy. Luis Sessa is another growing veteran guy to help Green, Lodolu, and Ashcraft. Well, let me tell you what, it's now time for these three guys to start shaping themselves. And it's hard because you need that support in the rotation. And yeah, you got Weaver and you got Sessa, but you also need to feel that confidence in some of these other guys. So when you look at a Green or a Lodolo or an Ashcraft, and they're sophomores this year, is that you're reluctant and relying on them to grow up on their own, to shape themselves and to make adjustments on their own without having that establishment and veterans in that rotation to help guide them. You know, one thing that you'd like to see, and this is what happened a lot with San Diego, is that pitcher will grow up, they will get hurt, and then they will never have that chance to kind of recover and make adjustments. They had to keep on going. And that's what ended up ruining their experience or the beginning half of their career. Denelson Lamet, Chris Paddock, Eric Lauer. Then you had to see them, Luis Perdomo was another one. Mackenzie Gore could be one as well. And then you had to see them go off where they could get actually broken down and trained and then reestablished. With the guys like Hunter Green, like Lodolu and Ashcraft, what I'm looking is that these are guys that are still learning. They haven't hit they're being forced to hit their downward spiral to adjustment in the big leagues. And that's probably another issue. When a team needs to establish themselves to bring up one or two young guys to play, they're always going to spark out pretty highly, pretty incredible. They're going to have some great numbers to begin with in the first season. Then they need to go back down to the minor leagues, kind of adjust themselves, whether that is the batting tweak, whether it's pitching, and then slowly get brought back up again. My fear is that with Hunter Green, Nick Lodolu, I think Nick Lodolu will probably be fine, but with Ashcraft and Green, I get really worried about Hunter Green this year. But we'll see. Then with off here with the relief pitcher, you got Alexis Diaz, Lucas Sims, Buck Farmer, Revere, San Martin, Tony Santillan, Fernando Cruz, Justin Dunn, Alex Young. Listen, it's a group of guys. And, this is kind of a similar group of guys that came out last year for the organization, really had a down, just completely, utterly sucked. Let's not sugarcoat it here. They sucked. And you got, he gives Diaz is probably a good extension, gives the ball club a legitimate closer for the first time in a couple of years. But you're going to need guys like Lucas Sim, Buck Farmer to set up. Farmer posted a 283, 34 games after being designated for assignment and working his way back into the club. Sims was limited to only 6 games in 2022 with his back injury. Santillan missed the final 99 games because of a back injury. Then you got the picture of TJ Antone, right flexor, not expected to start the season. Another spot has opened. Dunn, who had shoulder issues. So this bullpen has been pronounced with injuries. Sims, Farmer, Dunn, Tony, San Martin. They need to kind of find a way to stay healthy because honestly, the guys that you see right now in the majors, almost realistically is all the guys you got. You really don't have much room for mistakes, especially if you want a consistency out of the Reds. So that's the projected. That is the projected opening day roster. We'll be following along in that. Like I said, pitchers and catchers report today. And listen, you guys got guys out there like Overton who could be fighting for a position, and they need to be ready for opening day just as much as everyone else because you don't know what Hunter Green or Luke Weaver is going to possess, in the spring training. And maybe, just maybe you need to start them off in AAA. So we'll keep an eye on that as closer to time. Let's take a break. Let's come back and see what the Bengals are doing in the offseason to get themselves better as well. You guys are listening to the Throw One, take you guys up until noon right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, 11:42 here on the Throw It. I want to give our good friends a shout out over there at Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. Join Steve Barber and Dwaylen Davis as they break down news and highlights in professional wrestling. The Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast is a weekly wrestling podcast. It can be found on YouTube and all audio streaming platforms. You can check out go check out and follow Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast now. The latest episodes, they continue their streak here. Why we are fans with Jake Peetway and Peetway Guitars. That was posted 10 days ago. I think they had another one. Maybe it's on Facebook. I saw it on Facebook. Probably not. It's probably that one, to be honest. But anyways, they're good friends. They're doing a great job over there, doing this big Why We Are Fans scenario. And I'd love to go check out and support what they're capable of doing. But all right, listen, it is, let me just fix everything. Other things going on in baseball here. We're going to be talking about and starting to update you guys about ideas about the new rules being progressed. You got the pitch clock, you got the limit of shifts. Now you also got the limitations of using position players as pitchers, and I'll talk to you guys about that a little closer to actually game time next week. But World Baseball Classic 2023 full Team USA roster, including Mike Trout and 10 notable names, has been released last week. Kind of want to quickly just go through that, give you guys the names. Starting off with the catchers, they got 3: JT Realmuto, Will Smith, Kyle Higashioka with the Yankees. So Phillies, Dodgers, Yankees there. You got 2 first basemen, one's with the Mets and Pete Alonso, Paul Goldschmidt with the Cardinals, Jeff McNeil with the Mets over there at second base. You got Nolan Arenado with the Cardinals over there at third base, shortstop Tim Anderson, Trey Turner, and Bobby Witt Jr. with the Royals, White Sox, and Phillies. And then looking out, those are for shortstops. And then over there out in the outfield, you got 5 of them: Mike Trout with the Angels, Mookie Betts with the Dodgers, Kyle Schwarber with the Phillies, Kyle Tucker with the Astros, and Cedric Mullins with the Orioles. The pitchers, right-handed pitchers, you have 13. Adam Wainwright with the Cardinals, Lance Lynn with the White Sox, Jason Adams with the Rays, Daniel Bard with the Rockies, David Bednar with the Pirates, Kendall Graveman with the White Sox, Merrill Kelly with the Diamondbacks, Nick Martinez with the Padres, Miles Michaelis with the Cardinals, Adam Octavino with the Mets, Ryan Presley with the Astros, Brad Singer with the Royals, and Devin Williams with the Brewers. The left-handers, you have 3: Clayton Kershaw with the Dodgers, Nestor Cortez with the Yankees, and Brookie Raley with the Mets. You have, you can also find roster, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I'm kind of just going down through some of these other ones here. Ronald Acuna Jr. was playing for Venezuela. Randy Elizarrarena with the Rays played for Mexico. Alexander Bogaerts for Netherlands. Tommy Edman with the Korea. Freddie Freeman with Canada. Matt Harvey with Italy. Francisco Lindor with Puerto Rico. Shohei Ohtani with Japan, and Luis Robert with the Cubs. That was kind of all that was listed there. It's kind of the point given, and it kind of sucks. We don't have any Reds. I think there's a minor league Red, couple Reds players in the minor league that will be representing. I don't have those names. If I can come up with those names, I'll let you know. But they reported to practice yesterday as they get ready for the World Baseball Classics. We'll keep you up to date with that stuff. Listen, it's also comes to kind of progress here. Okay. NFL season's over. The congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs who won the Super Bowl. I thought, listen, I know that, there's always going to be controversy. I think I've said that before. A lot of people didn't like how the officiating with the Bengals and Chiefs game a couple weeks ago. And I don't think people liked how the final penalty was called for the Eagles that put up a great position for the Chiefs. I think it was a classical game. And I have not heard many coaches or, players from the Eagles pointing fingers. Yeah, they had the issue with the sleekness of the grass during the game. But I think that, listen, that's a fair play on both sides, and they had an opportunity to fix that. But overall, it was a classical game. I liked how the Eagles ownership took responsibility at the end of the game. For the most part, I think that shows a tremendous level of respect and class. And you know what? I mean, I'm not necessarily a Chiefs fan, but, listen, you can't deny how well Patrick Mahomes played in the final game of the year. They went on and they deserved to win the Super Bowl. Moving forward, though, it is off-season time. And that means there's a lot of big questions coming out and lurking away. You have Derek Carr expected to be released today, as he rejected all potential trade offers. And this means, listen, there's going to be he's going to become a free agent. That means, teams are not going to be able to look at him and pick him up, and I think this is a big deal. It was a couple weeks we talked about this, and it's the off season, right? So we have coaching, we have coaches who are just being, are finally being looked at. We have quarterbacks also, which is the number one thing. We just saw Joe Burrow in works with his contract with the Bengals, and I think that's a key important thing. I think the Bengals are locked in and set. We'll talk about the Bengals here in a moment. But it's going to be a big thing for Derek Carr to find the right team. Right now, there's possible fits: the Commanders, Patriots, the Saints, Buccaneers, Jets, Panthers, of course. But you got to find a team. Like I said, when it comes down to like Aaron Rodgers potentially finding a new team, there has to be circumstances. I don't want Derek Carr to go to the Commanders. I don't know how much more the Commanders are going to improve with Derek Carr. I think the Commanders are just as good as the Las Vegas Raiders. So are the Panthers. So are the Jets. Maybe the Buccaneers. Maybe the Patriots. But there is an opening, and there's a lot of coaches, and there's a lot of slots that you will see over the next, hopefully, few weeks between now and, there's some teams that are looking into, hey, we got to figure out what we're going to do for the draft. And, especially like a team like the Bears who already have Justin Fields, and are they going to go out and pick out a quarterback? And wouldn't that be, that was, just out of means, they have a big decision to make over there. But there's also, you start looking into what is going to happen. And then, all right, let's look at it. If you are the Raiders and you've offered every possible option for, Derek Carr to be traded, he says no. Now it comes down to two options. Either you say, Derek Carr, we're going to keep you, and I'm sorry, but we're going to, let's go ahead and patch our mins and try to figure out how we could play solid football with each other and take our team to the next level. Or, okay, we're going to have to release you. And that means now we have to look for a quarterback. I wouldn't bet or I wouldn't guarantee money that Aaron Rodgers goes to Las Vegas. And that, I mean, so that's just one thing. Raiders have to look for a team quarterback. Derek Carr has to look for a home team. And there are teams out there. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, especially now since, quote unquote, Tom Brady. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go buy into Tom Brady until we actually see a season without. I mean, he could go retire this year, not play for a whole nother year, decides to come back at the age of 47 and play. So we're going to keep the storylines up to that. Told you a little bit about a couple of things for the Bengals that's already been made. NFL offseason is here, and they're already talking about 2023 prospects. What do we need to do? The question is, what's next for Aaron Rodgers? Tom Brady's retired, which is good news because I believe Aaron Rodgers is at the top of the game now, but he has to find his team. All right. I don't know if Packers still want to move on against him and split ways, but that's looking every day. It looks more possible, but Rodgers is open for a trade. But you know that if Rodgers is trading, Green Bay ain't not going to get nothing, nothing cheap back out. What happens to Lamar Jackson? The Ravens says that they want Lamar Jackson for the long haul, but they keep failing to meet with the quarterback contract meetings. I think Lamar Jackson needs to push that, and we'll dive into each team and what they really need. Also, which other elite quarterbacks gets extensions. Justin, you have to figure out what Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. You got to figure all that stuff out. There's a lot of stuff that we'll probably be bringing up here very shortly. Who drafts a quarterback? Does Chicago drafts a quarterback? Either they stick with Fields or they go pick a quarterback and they see what's going on with Fields. You still got Texans who need a quarterback. Colts need a quarterback. Seattle could use a quarterback. Detroit, Las Vegas, Atlanta, and the Panthers as well. Also, we're starting to see coaches filled in, right? How will Sean Payton restore with the Broncos as a new head coach? Another couple other big name coaches back in the bits. Frank Reich with the Panthers, DeMarco Ryan with the Texans, are respected leaders now guiding young clubs. And then also the question with Russell Wilson, who flopped under Nathaniel Hackett in 2021. 5 teams to watch. This is just a league of their own. The Bears, the Giants, the Jets, the Jaguars, and the Rams. Definitely included with the Rams. So coming in tomorrow, I could tell you I want to kind of pay a little bit more attention to some of these teams, just talking about it. They've already talking about contingency, who's definitely candidates for the AFC and NFC next year. You got the Chargers, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Jaguars, Ravens, Dolphins, Jets, Raiders. That's a huge list from the AFC. And the 49ers, Eagles, Cowboys, Lions, Rams, Giants, Packers, Vikings, Buccaneers, Saints, stuff like that. So we'll take a look at a little bit into it tomorrow or later on this week. The biggest question here to wrap up the show: where do the Bengals need to fix themselves at in the offseason? Because it seems like they did a good job last year addressing the concerns that they had, and that was offensive linemen. Now, they went out and they've already tackled on another defensive player, and I think the Bengals are in good condition, and if you don't agree with how well the defensive players have been for the Bengals. And I think you just got to keep that going. But I think it was a crazy fault last year or this season that the lineman just was an utter disaster yet again, although they went out and they picked up veterans. I loved the veterans they picked up. And I think that you still have to add a few more solid guys in that offensive line. And I still think this time around in the draft, you're going to have to find an offensive line. Now, one thing I am confident, you got Jamar Chase. Hopefully you got the returning of Higgins and hopefully you see. I don't know if you want to continue um, with the running back. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart here, but I think it's also now important that say, all right, Joe, you've proven yourself great. Congratulations. How well can you work with younger quarterbacks that are now getting into the league? Maybe picking up one or two younger guys that you can, I know, honestly look at and say, all right, hey, listen, you're going to work with this young Joe Burrow. He's proven himself time and time again. And let's go ahead and work on that. I think the biggest, I want to say offensive line is still a position where the Bengals need to work at the most. But I still think some of the receivers need to start taking a look into, you need to start looking into some of the receivers because it's the receivers now that are, you're going to need to solidify. So another big picture coming into the offense, but we're starting to see a lot, we're starting to see things unravel. And I just, you always, big question for any franchise team, whether you're in San Francisco and you're dealing with that problem, whether you're in, Miami, you're dealing with Tua Tagovailoa, or whether you're in Cincinnati. It's about, who's going to make the biggest and baddest splash of them all. And I think that's the big question. I do want to start bringing back around, right? I want to start bringing back around wrestling, notable wrestlers of the week, who we thought was on the top of the week. I do want to get you by the end of this month our top 10 that we did last year, and I'll explain more about that. So that's working back up. Hey, listen, I apologize for my voice being croaked here this morning. Hopefully we do better. I could get better, and we're just getting back on the way. So NXT is tonight. Braun Breaker comes back after successfully defending his NXT championship. And we will also see the toxic attraction encounter after JC Jane finally attacked and betrayed Gigi Dillon. So, all right, 2 hours of the show has coming on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, to you guys, till tomorrow morning. Thank you guys. Take care. Have a great Valentine's Day. See you guys tomorrow.